Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review, guys. This time we are continuing on with the Dirk Pitt series. We are talking about book number 3. We are talking Clive Cussler, guys. We are talking specifically, again, book number 3, but that title is Iceberg. So, what is Iceberg about, guys? Well, this is the continuation of the Dirk Pitt series. Again, if I haven't stressed it enough, this is book number 3. So, we are getting to know Dirk quite a bit by this point. Book 1 and book 2, I should say, we kind of got to learn about him a little bit, and we think we get to know him. And then Mr. Cussler goes, hey, you know what? Let's take him out of his element. He's not going to be in the tropical region. He's not going to be where it's nice and warm. He is going to be where there's icebergs, where it's cold. Dirk's a little bit out of his element. So kind of getting into this book, though, guys. What is this book about? So I'm going to read the back here real quick. A routine survey mission over the North Atlantic exposes a missing luxury yacht frozen inside a million-ton mass of ice. The ship had vanished en route to a secret White House rendezvous, making it the responsibility of the National Underwater Marine Agency, NUMA, to find out what happened. In other words, it's time for Dirk Pitt to cut his vacation short and get back to work. When Pitt arrives on the scene and discovers the charred remains of the entire crew who burned alive but never left their post, he begins to suspect the tragic loss of the ship to be only the first deliberate step in a far more sinister plan. And as always, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Cussler on the back of the book. So again, this kind of, does a really good job of explaining what this book's going to be about. Opening up, we are introduced to this survey crew who they're in the colder region, I will say. What is it? The North Atlantic. They're up by, I think it was Greenland, if I'm not mistaken. They're up by Greenland, and they discover, or close to it, they discover what appears to be a ship in this iceberg, and they realize this might be this ship that had gone missing a little over a year ago. Let's mark it. So they end up marking it with this dye that's supposed to go on the iceberg. So from there, we are introduced to Dirk Pitt yet again. So Dirk ends up having to go try and find this iceberg. But the issue is Dirk can't find it. And when he finally does, things don't seem right. Things don't feel right, And so Dirk has to figure out, why is this iceberg here, and what happened, and why is it that everybody burned at their post? That makes no sense. So again, this is a mystery thriller, whatever you want to describe it, men's adventure fiction. How do I describe this book, without going into any in-depth details and spoiling anything? I don't think what I just told you spoiled anything. This is really, at this point, Mr. Cussler has a certain writing style, which I enjoy. He has certain cliches that are in his book. I enjoy them. This is definitely I don't want to say guilty pleasure reading. This is not anything that I don't think is going to win any humanitarian awards or anything like that. It's not a super, super serious book. This is, like a Rambo, Die Hard, or Terminator. As a guy, you could just sit there, or a woman, you could sit there and read this and just enjoy it for what it is. And I really enjoyed the fact that Mr. Cussler takes us out, again, of Dirk's comfort zone. He has to cut another vacation short, or another one get interrupted. And in this book, while the last couple books does have a impact globally. Sorry guys, English is hard. While the impact, again, globally in the last 2 books have been tremendous, it will affect. Nothing has been like what the impact could be in this book. Again, I really enjoyed this book quite a bit. Not as much, I will say, as the first and the second book, but still, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm going to be continuing on with the series. One thing I will say, and it's more of a nitpick than anything, guys. In this book, we don't have Dirk Pitt's best friend. We don't. We end up trading him in, I should say, for a different character. Now, while I enjoy the character, I much rather read the interactions between Dirk and his best friend. I think that was a really big highlight of the first book, yeah, but the second book especially, that was a huge highlight. Something that made when I was reading them interacting, it didn't matter what I was doing. I didn't care to do anything else. I just wanted to read, how they were going to interact with each other, what they were going to say to each other, how they were going to mess with each other and whatnot. So again, in this book, as always, Dirk is more of a womanizer than ever before. Something I will say, and I went on Goodreads. I generally don't go on Goodreads. Normally, I only go on there and mark what books I've read, just kind of keep track of them. Also, keep track of how many books I've read for the year. There is a way that Dirk portrays himself in this book that a lot of people had issues with on Goodread reviews, and they definitely let it show. What I will say, and I think that's definitely something that probably wouldn't be considered okay in today's society. It didn't take away or deter me from wanting to read the book by any means. Again, when this book was written, it was a different time, so I think there's going to be some people that are not going to like this book. They're going to get upset by it. Again, I just have to put this out there, not to side one way or the other, but because I'd be lying to myself and y'all if I didn't tell you and do the, hey, this is kind of a nitpick thing that I think some people aren't going to enjoy. I always try to be honest and upfront with you guys. So aside from that, I don't think there's going to be, any other issues with this. Now, what I will say, there was something that happened in this book that surprised me. If you watched my review of the second book, and I think I talked about it in the first book a little bit when I did my review of the first book, Dirk tends to kind of figure things out, fairly quickly, at least the very latest halfway through the book, who the bad guy is, kind of why they're doing it. He thinks, he's pretty close to it. Same thing in this. Again, a little bit of a nitpick there. So if you didn't like that in the first and second book, it's kind of in here. It actually happens a little bit more quicker in this book. But there's something else that happens in this book that I didn't see coming. It caught me off guard. I was reading in bed. I had to stop, look at my wife, come back, read a couple paragraphs to make sure, that I didn't miss anything, that I didn't misunderstand what Mr. Cussler had wrote. So what I will say, the event that happens in this definitely bumps this book up. Again, just because I didn't see it coming. I thought I had Mr. Cussler pinned down. This is how it's going to be kind of thing. And then he ends up throwing me a curveball and throws something else that happens in here. So again, I really enjoyed this book. I really did. I didn't enjoy it as much as, again, the first or the second book, but I still enjoyed it. I'm going to be continuing on with the series. And I really want to try and tell you guys what it is, but I got to make these spoiler free. So I'm going to stop you here and let you know, okay, guys, skip ahead about 30 seconds to a minute because I'm going to do the spoiler, kind of, not necessarily a spoiler, but kind of something I think that kind of relates to it. So again, skip ahead about 30 seconds to a minute, starting now. So the surprise in this that caught me off guard, guys, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. What I will tell you, again, caught me off guard. I will use a phrase, and if you've seen this movie, I think you will eventually connect the dots, or it'll make you interested and want to possibly read this book. What I will say is, if you've seen Ace Ventura, Laces Out, Dan, Einhorn. That's what I will say. Einhorn, guys. Einhorn. And that's going to be the end of the spoilers. Again, I don't want to tell you guys, but I kind of want to give you a little bit of an idea. So again, as always, I do appreciate you guys stopping by, checking out the video. I know we've definitely got some new subscribers. Welcome, guys. Again, this is a series I'm really, really highly recommending. This seriously is starting to get up there and kind of getting up there with Longmire, again, for being one of my favorite series. I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm enjoying this series. I really am. I'm so happy that I picked this series up. Again, I forget who it is that recommended it to me. Whoever you are, I do apologize. Comment down below. Let me know. But again, thank you so much for putting this series on my radar and whatnot. Again, guys, as always, I do appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.